Boom. Welcome back to the corner, everybody. I'm your host, Aaron, and we got some fire coming up tonight. Got some good stuff. What is going on, Phoenix family? What is happening? Thank you guys for entertaining this on a Sunday night at a special time. I apologize. We've had some technical issues over the last couple of corners. Chris M, Keith Firebird, Mary, I know she's in the house. Who else we got going on? I saw Rick Smith in the chats and West Cat earlier. So anyway, we had a family thing yesterday, and Gary was cool enough to allow me to push it back a week or a day, because as you know, we do the Black Friday stuff and the kickoff to the Pay It Forward campaign, and all of that. And so we ended up pushing our Thanksgiving back to yesterday. And although I could have probably made it at 8 o'clock, I think it probably would have been. Oh, that's real funny, Keith. I'm surprised that you can see anything at all. Didn't you guys get hit? Didn't Chicago get put under snow by like 20 feet or something this week? Surprised you even made it out, Keith. Why are we live during a Packers and Bears game? Because family came first. Sorry. I don't like to do it. I mean, we all know that you should be watching the Steelers game, but anyway. Titan Tim's in the house. All right, so listen, I want to get this show started. Gary is backstage. I'm south of Chicago. Oh, okay, good. And you missed it. We're gonna do the mental floss, and then we're gonna get Gary on here, and you guys can ask him some questions or whatnot. But I kind of want to get into the guy behind the detail guy. So let's get this puppy started, shall we? Share the screen. Don't.
I think the best men are those who've been broken by life and have pulled through, have come out the other end. Why? Because they've been forced by circumstances to drop the illusion of their strength and power. They've known that they couldn't keep that going. They've hit rock bottom and they've had to reach out and say, I can't cope. I am in infantile position. Yeah, help me. Men become rather glorious when that's happened to them, because that's when there's true humanity, sympathy, etc. But some men, they never get there. It's posture. It's defensive posture all the way. And I can spot them a mile away. The men who've been broken.
What do they look like?
It's not really, you just sense that there's a modesty. Deep down, there's a modesty. And you just feel, I think people give off, I often notice it, a sense of how much you could tell them and how much they'd be able to bear. I think.
Yeah, the best men are often those who have been broken, the ones who have walked through darkness, faced failure, stood on the edge of defeat, and yet refused to give up. Their strength was not born from comfort, but forged in pain, loss, and struggle. Through adversity, they discovered resilience. Through heartbreak, they found purpose. And though every fell, they rose wiser and stronger. These men, women, understand that true greatness is not about never being broken, but it's about rebuilding themselves every time the world tries to tear them apart. It is in their scars that their strength shines the brightest. If that's not Curmudgeon's Corner, I don't know what is. All right. Who did we get? Humberto's in the house. Good to see you. Enthusiast, good to see you. Breeze MW. All right. So, I guess without much further ado, I think we should get this guy, that detail guy, Gary, on the corner. He's got quite a resume, and I can't wait to dive into it. So let's get that detail guy up and running. Hello, sir.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How
are
you doing? About as good as I can be,
All right.
Just been working, I feel like I've just been in this season of working and it like you trying to run a business, trying to take care of the family, trying to do all those different things, and it's been something else. I'll tell you what. This is our first Black Friday, the first time that I ever ran an ad. I ran a couple of ads just to kind of see what that was like, and that was very interesting. You know, just getting the feedback. I think I got banned from Google. Uh,
Really?
yeah. They have a hard time because everything I do falls under my LLC, so I just call it ThatDtailGuy LLC. But my shop is called ThatDetailShop. So naturally, I just keep it all as one right now. That's what my tax person told me to do.
Right.
So I think they're trying to figure out, okay, well, why are you saying that you're this guy and that you detail, but that you also do your e-commerce and you also do consulting and you also build websites and you do what is going on? I'm like, man, I'm still trying to figure it out myself, guys.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Well, let's before we get into all of that, let's
Yeah,
do a little bit of a rewind.
sir.
You know, again, I like to do my homework by you're making the circuits, by the way. You're on all kinds of podcasts these days. I think
You know,
there's
I
three
don't
that
like
I
telling
just
people
watched.
no.
What's that?
I don't like telling people no.
I appreciate that. I
If you
appreciate
if
you
you're
coming on
willing
the
to have
corner.
me, yeah, if you're willing to have me, then I love to share my story. I don't get the time to really watch too much TV or podcasts or stuff. I just feel
Mm.
like I'm doing too much, and that's the first time I saw that opening, and man, how impactful was that?
Well, yeah, that's what we call the mental floss. We've been doing it. We've been doing it for a little while now. We didn't start out that way. The show has definitely taken on much better, bigger form. I think that we tried to focus a lot more on community here and mental health in particular, because since I've started talking about it and sharing some
Yeah,
of my story and my background about it, people have really poured out some beautiful, heartbreaking stories, and shared with me, and have thanked me for talking about it. And now the Funkin' Homies, they're talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, people are
yeah.
like, it's no longer taboo to be talking about mental health, and I love that. And I had no idea how intricate it is and how it impacts so many people. I mean, there isn't anybody that can walk through the fire that is life and not have some sort of scar from it, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was talking to a client today, and I was talking about another business owner, owns a chemical company, very successful. Comes from a different line of life, right? Father has funds, has resources. He could have had a great job working under him, right? But he was like, I really want to start a detailing, chemical company. And you would think, oh, okay, well, that's easy. But the thing is, I knew I could see it in his eyes. He had that one shot to be successful. And boy, has he ever been. And I was just like so proud to hear his story. And I told him, I was like, you got to share that story too. Just because you come from a place that most people would consider privilege, that's pressure, man. That is so much pressure to know that I get this one shot. And if not, I'm my dad's secretary until maybe I get a shot to run this thing. It's just life's all about perspective and seizing opportunity, I think, more than anything.
So if you allow me to kind of pick the scab off of that, going back to listening to your podcast with the Funkin' Homies,
Yeah.
I kind of got this new side of you that I don't think that a lot of your subscribers, and by the way, congratulations on like nearly 300,000 subscribers. Side of you that is kind of like when I was first introduced to you by Rick Smith. He told me that I should reach out to you because you have a very similar community oriented, give it back to the community
Yeah.
mentality. You and I felt like we clicked, and that we had a couple of we shared a lot of similar goals and whatnot. So you mentioned in Funkin' Homies, you said community helped raise you. You had a strong father. But yet it sounded to me, and I mean, maybe I'm reaching, and I apologize if I am, or especially if I'm overstepping myself,
Yeah.
that you suffer or suffered from your own darkness.
Oh yeah.
Is that something that we can talk about here?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people on the YouTube side of things haven't seen that, because I'm kind of known for doing, you know, different types of videos, short form stuff like that. But I actually do produce long form content. Oh, but I use an automation to get things over here to YouTube, and if it's over 3 minutes, it doesn't come.
Right.
And I usually am like, oh, I'll get to it. I'll make a long form video about it, but then it's vertical, right? Or I filmed it wrong, or I just don't have time. I just don't have time
Sure.
to cut it. But yeah, I mean, you talk about community. Happiness Bag Incorporated is my place where I feel at peace. It's actually a place for people with mental and physical disabilities. But what's so spectacular about it
What is it called?
It's called Happiness Bag Incorporated. I've got it tagged right there. Anybody that wants to go check out what they do in their mission, that's what I put in there. So you guys can go check that out. And so I actually had an uncle, my biological uncle. His name is Aaron. Coincidentally enough,
Great name.
it's a great name. And he had a condition where he couldn't sweat. So naturally, he went to this place for people with special needs, get some different help, some unique needs. And there was a young lady there at the time in her 20s playing basketball, and she probably needed a couple extra dollars to you know, do what 20-year-olds do at the time. And little did she know that by taking on that responsibility of watching my brother and eventually me, that she would be approached by my father not 8 months after I was born. And it's tough, man. And he so basically what happened is my biological mom she left me in a parking lot and told my dad to come get me. And my dad didn't have a car. He didn't have a car seat at the time. So the only person he knew how to call was the lady who raised me. And so he called her and he said, basically, like, I need help. I can't do this on my own. My dad's dad, he couldn't read or write. So the fact that my dad was even here trying, working at Long John Silver's, he had just gotten a job at a boys and girls school it's called Jabal. And he's like, I can't mess this up. How the hell am I going to raise this kid? I don't have a car. I don't have a car seat. I didn't have parents that took care of me. What the hell am I going to do? So he called this lady who had been babysitting me for a long time. He said, man, can you help me out? She said, yeah, man.
Gary, that's amazing. That's so beautiful.
So like, that's how my life started. And like that one person, you know, in many others, because you got to think, this is a person who didn't have me as a kid. So she did not, like, there was money that was saved up, you know. We were living in somebody's basement at the time. She was living in somebody's basement as a college student trying to make it. Somebody who already that family had somebody who had special needs, right? So like that budget was already strained, but they took us both in. And there was just so many people that I could put on that saved my life, from school teachers. There was enough teachers that told me I wasn't ever going to be anything, but there was a whole lot of people that continued to see something in me that I couldn't see myself. And it took so many different evolutions of life for me to finally get it. And it's like, you know, it really started to click the first time when I was probably a junior, right? Into sophomore year of high school. And then I kind of went on this cycle of, well, I still want to go to college. I want to have a good time. I want to drink. I want to do all this stuff, right? And I want to be with the football team and stuff. I wasn't on the football team. It wasn't good enough, you know? But I had really good friends, D1 athletes. We went there, had good times. You know, I partied and did the whole thing. And I'll be honest, man, I always had a knack for leadership positions. And I had an opportunity to work at a store in the mall, Fortune 500 company. And they called me a golden boy, which they called golden boys guys who, man, they're only going to work here for about a year, and then they're headed to get their own store, and then they're probably going to go be a GM somewhere. Like, I was on the fast track. And I looked to my left, and I looked to my right. My dad, at that point in time, you know, 20 plus years, all he did was come from a father who couldn't read or write to living on dirt floors, to not knowing where his next meal was, right? To not only being my hero, not only being turning into a professional athlete, a professional bodybuilder. I grew up watching them on ESPN. I saw them in magazines, right?
Right.
Not only did I get to see that person, but the amount of lives that he impacted, helping boys and girls, juvenile delinquents, wards of state, kids who didn't have a chance. The only chance that they had was to try to make it through this great boys and girls school called Jabal. Some of them just both parents are in prison, and because they're the communities look at them as maybe they're gonna have some trouble, so they can't find placement. Some of them aren't bad kids.
Right.
They just don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
So they so I saw him. Man, I got so many stories, that just humble.
I want to hear it. I want to hear them.
I'll tell you the one that sticks with me more than anything. And I talk to my dad about this frequently. My dad was sponsored by Ryan's Steakhouse.
Okay.
And one time he said, "Hey, I'm gonna take this kid out. We're gonna go on a furlough." Okay. So okay. He said, "Now I want you to know something, son." He said, "This kid, before I met him, he couldn't eat. He didn't know how to eat with utensils." And I'm a young kid, 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
My son's age, he turns 10 tomorrow. I said, "Dad, what do you mean? What are you talking about? How do you not know how to eat?" And he said, "Well, his mom will come home maybe once, twice a week off of a bender, essentially. I didn't know it at the time." And he said, she'd maybe have some leftovers, half a burrito or something like that. And she'd throw it on the floor, and his brothers and sisters would just have to fight over it like cats and dogs. So like my dad like saved people's lives, man. Like how to teach kids how to eat. So that's my pops, right? And then I had these other amazing people in my life. One is a school teacher. Another one is a CEO of Happiness Bag. And I just watched them literally save, like, just be leaders in their community, and then still came home and made sure that this kid that wasn't theirs, I never went a Christmas without a new pair of socks, a new pair of underwear. You know what I'm saying? I didn't always get the Xbox or whatever, but my friends had me on that sometimes. But I never came into a Christmas not thinking, oh, I'm not going to get anything, right? And then on top of that, I go back here to Georgia, to my actual blood family, my pop's family. I'm back in Georgia now.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw. You saw that same community that he came from, and they were still struggling in the projects, roaches everywhere on the floor. And it really humbled me, because even though I knew I was in a place where my friends had more than me at some point in time, it could be so much worse. And I kind of grew up with that perspective from, socioeconomic to people with, severe intellectual and physical disabilities. So I kind of grew up with all the pieces, right? But there's one thing that I never had, seemingly, which I was always chasing something, and that was that abandonment. And that's the darkness that, 35-year-old man, when I don't get that phone call on my birthday, it still fucking hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think that we talk about the darkness on this program a lot, and we talk about, I told a story a couple of weeks ago about just overhearing somebody else's story. I was sitting in a barber's shop and just kind of overheard, when you go to the barber, it's like going to a therapist, or what I mean, or your bartender. You just tell them a bunch of random stuff, and he was telling a story about his mid 30-year-old daughter that lives with him and his wife because she has disability, and and is a fall risk and stuff like that. And so he was just kind of lamenting how he looked tired and so on and so forth. But I just sat there in the chair and listened to the whole thing, and I try to apply that story to my everyday existence, and a story like you just told to my everyday existence, which is, trying to extend to another human being grace. You know what I mean? And normally I wear a shirt that says "Be kind" on the show, but because this is a community episode, trying to give back to the community. This is Conway's. This is his business. So last week,
man.
and so anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But the point of the story is on the back of the shirt it says, "Every single person that you encounter is fighting a battle you know nothing about."
Yeah.
Gary, I don't think that, unless you've opened up like this on other, like, I would never have known that that's your personal darkness that you carry with you. You know what I mean? And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, man. It's I don't have a problem really talking about this side, and I think it's it's time for me to like just really tell my story. That's just how it started.
Yeah.
All through childhood, because of those issues and the things that I saw, and the different people that you interact with, I was labeled a bad kid. I was, and that I've done so much research on that. Just telling a kid that they're bad does so much to them, man.
Mm.
When you don't know what the hell they're going through.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff that's probably too graphic, just about my own life, that I probably shouldn't get into on here, but I still am humbled in the fact that I didn't have it half as bad as some of the people. So when I was in 6th grade, I moved from the rich side of town, where I was the minority, to another side of town that was a little bit more urban. And the funny part about that kind of dichotomy is now I'm the rich white guy, even though I'm biracial, right? And so I'm trying to adapt, and you come into this thing being just biracial in general, where sometimes you never fit in. Not black enough for black people, not white enough for the white people. So I kind of found myself a little bit lost in 6th grade, and I was trying to figure it out. And I was always kind of a funny guy, kind of a class clown type, a surprise.
Mm.
And I just started. I remember my first day of 6th grade at the the rich side of town. I got a detention that first day. I'll never forget that. And then by the time I moved over to the other school, I was getting in trouble. I was acting out, and it got so bad. By the time I got probably the end of 6th, 7th grade, they would call the people who raised me. They would call my pops. And I remember, and I wrote a song about this. I still remember sitting in the principal's office with my head down because I couldn't even make it through the damn day.
Mm.
Because it got so bad that if I was even late to class, I would get 2 in-school suspensions, 2 after-school suspensions, and then eventually it turned into out-of-school suspensions. So my parents would drop me off, and by the time it was not even noon, I'm already suspended because I was late to class or talking to somebody in the hallway or doing something like that. So it just created this cycle, and what they call that cycle is where I'm just feeling bad all the time. And I'm like, well, maybe I am bad. And there's some people that changes them. And what that's called, it's called the school to prison pipeline. It's a phenomenon that's defined by the ACLU. And the reason why I know that is because, going to get me again. When I graduated college, I started doing research, and I was trying to figure out how the hell I got so damn lucky. And I've tried to figure it out. And what I found out was, most kids who are in prison, most grown people in prison, they've been through what are called all these like childhood events. I forget what the acronym is, but there's a school to prison pipeline where you tell a kid that they're bad, and eventually they disagree with you and they start doing bad stuff and they end up in prison. And then the other thing is there's like all these like childhood events that people can go through, and 93% of all people in prison have had at least one, or I think at 2 like traumatic childhood events or something like that. I forget what the actual acronym is. So I did all this research. I'm trying to figure out like, how did I get so lucky? And I realized that it's not about luck. It's this. I was made to do something phenomenal with my life, and that's why when I was able to get a following, when I was able to have success doing the things I do, I always knew it. Like the reason why I keep going is because I feel like I'm supposed to be here. Nothing happens by accident. There's so many times where I've had people pull guns on me. I thought I was invincible. I thought that, everything was gonna, you don't stink. You know what I mean? You try not to cuss, but and you just get humbled in that moment. And I've been so close. The line has been so close to where, I could have been locked up. And I got friends that I used to run with. When I graduated high school, I talked about it when I did the Pandy Organizer video. I said, me saying difficult things in front of people, trying to tell the truth, that's not new. When I gave my speech at graduation, which is a funny story in itself, one of the things I started the speech with, I said, there was 12 kids on my middle school football team, and only 4 of us are going to graduate today. And the principal did not want me to say that, but I told him, I said I have to.
Wow.
Because it made him look bad. But the truth was, what I was trying to say is, I'm here because of this student body and these teachers that gave a shit about me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was my truth, but that truth made people uncomfortable because what it highlighted was they lost 8 people. And you start looking at, well, what happened to those kids? 2 of them were already in prison. A couple other of them had kids with people, fell out. A couple other of them couldn't get through the curriculum, But here I was. I had that opportunity because people kept looking at me and they kept believing in me. They kept putting me in position to, to have success. As many times as I looked the people who raised me, my community, people in their face, told them they weren't my parents, told them I didn't want to have nothing to do with them. They just kept trying, man.
So
they just kept coming.
When you made that transition, like which came first, college or the Navy?
I went to college for a little bit to have fun and party.
Mm-hmm.
And once that party ended and I started looking at them bills come in, that's when I said, all right, I need to go to work. So I put a suit on one day and I walked around the mall until somebody hired me. Once again, that's a tactic I picked up from, one of the people who raised me. Say, well, put a suit on. Here's your resumes. Yep. You ain't gonna live here for free. Better figure it out. So I did that. And I was lucky that I met this guy named Alan and he brought me in. And he took me under his wing and, he started kind of showing me the ropes, made me an assistant manager that day. And I was on a fast track to have my own shoe store in the mall.
That's great. Yeah, my first job as a dispatcher for EMS, I got hired because I was the only one that showed up to the interview in a suit. So they taught you well, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the same thing. I went to college, was academically suspended the first year. Then I did a bunch of I went to Penn State over the summer and took a bunch of classes and got like a 3.6 GPA at Penn State. Reapplied and said, "Hey, look, I can do the work. I just didn't. If you give me a second chance, I'll do the work. I can do it clearly." They let me come back to school in Georgia, by the way. And then by Christmas I was kicked out again. So yeah, I joined the Army immediately after that. So I think by December I was kicked out of college for the second time, and by January I had joined. So
I love
womp
that.
womp. So let's talk about that for a second, shall we? If you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is something that I'm very curiously excited to talk about. Signals intelligence. Signet.
Yeah, man.
Like, tell me that story. Like, how do you get to the Navy, and how do you get into intelligence, and what exactly is signals intelligence? And then you got attached to Navy special ops. So I want to hear all about that. And from listening to the Funkin' Homies, there's some stories in that, if you don't mind tearing that apple open.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had some highs and we had some lows, and we're still recovering from that aspect. So keep it real short. And I was doing the thing at the mall, and I don't want to put anybody under or anything like that, but I just, to say it nicely, I realized that my destiny, right, my future, it couldn't be working in the mall, because I would never feel, I don't think that the pride that I grew up with really influential people, I feel like, and people who really moved people's lives, and selfishly, that's what I wanted, right? I said, I want to change people's lives. I want to be somebody's hero one day. When I have kids, I want them to be proud of me. And I didn't know if I could accomplish that in my head, right, at that time,
Sure.
by working in the mall. Everybody has a chance to have impact no matter what they do, right? But I knew that I needed something else. I wanted to feel alive. I wanted to feel part of a team and a purpose that was greater than me. I don't want to serve myself at that point in time anymore, because I'd been doing a whole lot of that. And also I had one of my good friends had a lot of things happen. So like a year before that, or around that same time when I started that job, I had a gun pulled on me for, I think, the first time. That was after a high school football game. You know, it was like supposed to be a little street brawl. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My buddy called me, "Hey man, we need you to show up." And at this point in time, man, I had dreadlocks down to my shoulders. I used to drive an Impala on 22 and Greed Envies with 2 JLW3s in the back. So, I thought I was somebody special, man. And I remember I was staying at my buddy's house at the time, and he was the one that was in duress. And I knew he kept a weapon in the house. And I said, you know what? It'd be funny if I go get that, and I'll be like real cool then, Let me show up there with weapons since they all want to fight, and I'll just, that'd be real intimidating. But something told me to say, well, you don't do that unless you intend to use it, right? And I didn't have no intent to hurt nobody, but I just wanted to be a cool guy. So basically something on my shoulder said, don't do it. Don't go get no weapon. Don't get no gun. You don't need all that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. So I just showed up to the thing. And I kid you not, this was like a movie. Everybody was just fighting. Everybody in the street. And as soon as I pull up, it was almost like the sea parted. And I saw this guy come out the house. And he just took a beeline towards me because I was big as hell. I'm big now. I was this same size then, but I had dreadlocks.
Wow.
And he comes right at me, and he's walking with his hand next to his hip. And me being an idiot, I don't see what the hell's going on. And everybody starts kind of, oh. And by the time he got to me, that's when I realized he had a pistol on him. And he pointed it right at me. And at that point in time, I looked him dead in his eyes and I said, well, you gonna shoot it or not? And he laughed and he put it down by his back and he called everybody in the house like that. Everybody went in the house and the fight was over.
That's incredibly ballsy. I mean,
because I was living life like I didn't have nothing to lose. I didn't have nothing to lose, man.
Yeah.
I was in the streets. I was doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. I didn't care about my life. I didn't see a bigger purpose at that point in time, whether I lived or died. I didn't have nothing going for me, man. I failed out of school twice.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that point in time if I had started working in the mall or not. I didn't have shit going for me, man.
There was a period of time for about 2 years after my accident that I know exactly what you're talking about. Basically, you were at the time I wasn't suicidal, but I was looking for ways to die.
I feel that. I love that. They call it active and passive suicide. Ask me why I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I've been there because I've been there many times. Just a year ago.
Yeah. Really?
Oh yeah. We'll get to it. So
please.
Yeah. So anyways, that happens, right? And I kid you not, a year to the day when that happened to me, and it was hard because like in high school, I was the most popular kid in school. And it was never because I was good looking, because I had, this or that going for me. I was just nice to everybody. My mom taught me, and when I learned those stories about those kids, and I learned all that stuff, kids with special needs, people going through stuff. There's so many kids who go to school and that's how they eat 3 squares a day or 2. That's it. So I knew that. So I knew sure as hell I could get in trouble for being mouthy to my teachers. I could get in trouble for doing a lot of stuff. But there was one thing I would never be, was a bully. And I always knew there was a couple of things, a hot button, that I think I could get out of jail free for anything. If I saw somebody disrespecting somebody with special needs, it was over. You want to see me go from 0 to 60? That's how you do it. So that's why I was the most popular kid in school. And I went to both schools that combined into the school. And, I just knew everybody. But fast forward a year later, to basically when that dude pulled a gun on me, he tried to do the same thing. But this cat that he pulled it on was from Indianapolis, from a rough part of town, ran with people who had guns. He did it to the wrong person, and that dude opened fire on not only the guy that pulled the gun on me, but all his friends. Killed the guy who pulled a gun on me. Shot up his friends, shot up the girls that that they all ran with. It was over like that. 2 lives lost, and a bunch of others scarred for life. And I'm like, damn, that could have been me. But I still didn't have my head on straight all the way. Like ants, stuff impacts you, right? And but eventually we're all human, right? We just fall back in line. You ever throw water on an anthill, scatter, but what's going to happen? Because that's what we're taught to do. Just keep it moving, right?
Right.
All right. So a little bit after that happened, this other guy, man, I looked up to him like nobody. The whole city looked up to him. And he was real good on motorcycles. And I thought I was going to get me another motorcycle. I was into this thing. I'm going to drive motorcycles. And I had this crappy car that I was so bad at mechanic. And this was kind of why I ended up doing detailing. Tried to fix this car up. I ended up parking it at my mom's or people raised me house. And put it on the corner. And all of a sudden, this guy drives by. He gives me $4,500 for this piece of junk. I couldn't believe it. But instead of paying off the student loan debt that I had, instead of being responsible, what'd I do? I'm 20-something years old. Went out and bought another motorcycle. Called my buddy to go check it out. Like I said, this dude is a superhero, okay? Of the whole city. And he loved me for some reason. I don't know why. Good looking kid, had everything. So he goes out there, he gets the bike with me. It's a good bike, Gary. All right, cool. So I'm gonna get the bike. So we get it, and I end up driving around with him and one other cat all night. We drive. We end up going to this lady's house, okay? Because the other buddy had a little something going on with this lady on Holman Street in Terre Haute, Indiana, if you know where it's at. And they do their thing. Everybody's smoking and joking, have a good time. Not me, I had to be on the bike and everything like that. But I kind of let everything happen because, like, I look up to these kids. They're a little bit older than me. And got time to go. So everybody kind of comes out there. And the girl and the other guy are doing their little thing over there in the corner. And I couldn't get the bike started. I was brand new. I was a little nervous trying to get out there. We're getting ready to go have a nightcap at a bar called Show Me's in Terre Haute, kind of like a Hooters. Going to go do that, right? Well, we get the bike started, and then one of them had to go use the restroom. And that time, once again, that little voice hit me. Go home. All right, guys, I got the bike started. I don't really need to go get another drink. I'm going to go home. On their way to the bar, they got hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, my God.
Other dude was in a wheelchair for a while. He kind of got it together. I think he's good to go, physically. My buddy, no helmet. Head hit that pavement. Brain swelled up.
Yeah.
Didn't make it. But here's the messed up thing.
I've responded to a lot of those.
Here's the really messed up thing, man. The lady that I was staying with didn't have electricity in the house at the time. We were going through something, and I was like, I'm not paying your bills anymore. But I still came up there that night because it was too late for me to go to the people who raised me. I think I was like halfway in between. So I went up there. Oh, and I had the motorcycle, and nobody in my family knew I had a bike yet. Okay, so I go up there to kind of stay the night. They have no electricity, and I happen to have a car up there that you could charge your phone overnight, and it would still, charge it. They don't even do that no more.
Right.
So I put it on the charger, and I come out that next morning because I had to go to work, like 6 a.m. Idiot, right? Staying out all night, partying, whatever. I go get to my phone, and it's just lit up. What the hell's going on? That's when I find out there was a wreck. My brothers called me thinking I was with him because he's the only one in the whole world that I told, because I always brag to my big brother, because he was the one that was a mechanic. He's in the cars. Yeah, I got me a new bike, bro. He thinking I'm dead all night. So I've never went so I've never went so fast on a motorcycle. I didn't know what to do. I was in shock. I got on that bike and I drove from Sealyville all the way down to Meadow Shopping Center, entire whole way. I never probably even told my mom this. I probably want $1.15 the whole way. I didn't want to. I don't know why. I couldn't handle it. I said, "What in the hell is going on?" I didn't have a helmet either. Didn't learn nothing. Got right up back on that bike. I got into work. I took a look to my left. I took a look to my right, and I said, "I can't do this today." And I asked if I had the day off, and it was about that time that I went outside and I finally called one of the people to raise me. And that's when they said, "Oh, did you hear blah, blah, blah?" And I said, "I need you to know something. I was with them last night. I have a brand new motorcycle. I don't know what to do with my emotions right now, and I just broke."
Was it like survivor's guilt?
It was a lot of different things.
I mean,
But
again, we don't really go into this kind of stuff on the corner, but it begs the question: does any of these things that have happened along your way, your journey, especially now being who you are today, looking back on, you said you were 36?
I'm 35. Yeah.
35?
Well, shoot, I don't even know how old I am. Yeah, I think maybe I am 36.
It's close enough. Let's
To be honest,
ballpark
I
it.
don't even know how old I am. I think I'm
It's fine.
35, 36.
Dude, does any of it feel like divine intervention at all?
Listen, I can answer that in a very unique way. I'm going to try to be very careful how I say this. Not for you, but I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But
exactly. That's why we keep it pretty neutral here on the corner.
Well, like I said, it's very unique. Growing up with the perspective I had, seeing people who were put on this earth with ailments that they couldn't prevent. Okay. It bet a person who's analytical like me and likes to ask questions. I would ask, why would their families and why would people have to be in such a situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
But when I think about people like myself, without people like that, where would I be without that community? And that's where it all comes back home to me. It's the communities that each and of us are able to create, whether we're able-minded, able-bodied or not. It's the impact that every single soul can have on somebody, man.
Yes, sir.
So
beautiful.
You talk about it. I've thought about it. You talk about that all the time. I'll tell you this thing, whether it's divine or not, I'm here for a reason. Somebody somewhere was doing something to make sure I was here. And that's fact.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Beautifully said. I the same, spending 16 plus years in EMS.
Yeah.
Seen some things.
Oh,
and definitely I remember very clearly the day that to quote an REM song, "Losing my religion." That was a hard day to get past.
Yeah.
Seeing what I saw, my son was brand new to the world. I mean, I guess he was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. And then when I saw what I saw, all I remember is that I needed to leave and go and see my son. I wanted to feel him and hold him and touch him and make sure that he was alive. And my psyche is so shattered. I probably should have saw the counselor for that, but anyway, yeah, I get it. And then you think back on all the other things and like the stuff that we're doing here, and to pay it forward and all that kind of stuff. I think there's enough in my life, personally in my life, I think there's enough evidence to sway the needle the other direction. So
yeah, I mean,
for that reason,
if I really sat down and told every single story, and I mean, I'm seconds away from losing everything. I'm seconds away from being in a prison cell right now. It's unbelievable. And that's why I don't take any of this for granted. I might seem like I have a cocky demeanor to some people. It depends on the video. What they don't see is the 3-hour conversation I had with the owner of that company. And I'm like, okay, how am I gonna, okay, this guy's trying to put food on the table for his family. How am I gonna spin this in a way that people will watch it? Because if they watch it, they'll buy. And if they buy, this person can feed their damn family.
Yes, sir.
If they buy, then this person can continue this damn dream. If they buy, this person can keep doing what? Paying it forward.
Amen.
So that's what I that's the tough part about it. Not every video is that deep, but I would say any of my videos that have been controversial, if you can get past the part where I punched you in the mouth and see that there's a message underneath there, I'll call it out. The one that everybody thinks I'm famous for, which I don't think I am, because it is not even in my top 10 as highest grossing, videos, is the gummy fix video.
Yeah.
But really all I was saying there was that all chemical companies are the same. It's just chemicals. That none of us are special. And why am I saying that? Because there's somebody at the bottom right now that's struggling to stay above water. And every time they put out something, they get told that's white labeled trash. That's this, that's that. You're a piece of crap. You should buy Kosh Kimmy. You should buy, XYZ brand. They're the best. So yeah, I'm gonna put out a video that punches you in the face and every single thing about your psyche, right? Because I don't care what you think about me. I want to create an environment where everybody can win. And that's the hardest thing I know to do. But I feel like that's what our responsibility is. Why have this platform if you're not gonna say hard things I could be very successful just hawking any product all the time, every single day. There's not too many products that I don't talk about that either I genuinely like, or it's because I know the person on the other end of it. And I don't.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I think that little micro blenders like Phoenix, we have the ability to kind of turn on a dime. Like we've done I think we're version 3 on the Hydra, the rinseless wash. And just the ability to make it better that fast, as opposed to some of the bigger companies that are, manufacturing thousands and thousands of bottles every day and whatnot. Obviously it's going to be a lot harder for them to just kind of pivot. But I think that, this is one of the reasons why I do Curmudgeon's Corner is, I do want people to understand that there is a real human being behind Phoenix. There is a guy that has, 2 stepsons and a real son and a wife and a mortgage and, rent for a warehouse.
I've heard about that warehouse.
It was that warehouse was about to be the death of Phoenix. It almost sucked me under. The whole reason why I got it was because I was doing 3PL in addition to Phoenix. Like, I was originally just like Nighthawk. We were just mixing out in the garage, having a good time.
Nighthawk mixes in his bathtub. Don't let him fool you.
All right. But then I got into the 3PL game, which is third-party logistics, where I had a overseas company that would ship stuff to me, and then I would disperse it. And I was doing all of Brian Spittler's stuff, the BC line, and so I was manufacturing his stuff and bottling it and shipping it as well. And then he decided to go in-house, and the overseas company went out of business, and all of a sudden it was a $4,000 swing. It was, I was getting $2,000 a month from these 2 other companies to pay for the warehouse, but now all of a sudden I'm paying for the warehouse, and it was like, it got brutal. And then when in year 3 we were supposed to have 5-year investors, and in year 3 all the investors withdrew their support, and so it was kind of like, all right, I am 100% on my own now. And it was scary. It was really scary. Most people that know my story know that, last year, September of 2024, I was knocking at heaven's door, literally.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Since, we've kind of flirted around it a little bit. I do see a conversation note here by Briley that I want to get to, because he said people don't respond to being punched in the face. And what I want to really touch on that, because when I say punch in the face, that's a metaphor. I didn't punch anybody in the face. I think what I did was I challenged people to think different. That's what I mean by that. And people don't like that. People don't like to be told that they've personified or put so much value into something, and they don't want to hear somebody crush that with logic, sound logic. And I think that's why the video was so impactful, right? Is because you had somebody that not only was saying it, saying everything that you made wasn't what you thought it was, but then I proved to you that it wasn't with two things that you could find underneath anybody's think. I think that's why that damn thing was so impactful. And it was only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I did it so damn quick. And that whole video was actually, I almost didn't put it out because the part where I mixed it and tested it and I did all that, it all got cut out. I didn't hit the record button, but I said I still was able to kind of piece it together because I do my little 3-minute videos, and I was like, yeah, it's not too bad. I'll make it work. And it sure did. I'm not intentionally trying to punch you in the face. What the punch is that what you've made your reality, you realize isn't real. That's the punch. It's not me doing it. You created that. But you're talking about September.
Mm.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm.
What if you knew that at that point in time, because you're not forming military or anything, right?
Yeah, I was combat engineer.
You're combat engineer, so you got the VGLI?
No, not that I know
of. Okay, so I pay in the VGLI. It's like $36 a month, something like that. And then I'm 100% disabled.
Roger that. Yeah.
So I pay into another fund, and y'all love you, man. And I knew that if I were to go at any point in time, my family would get $500,000. They get half my pension forever. So
yeah, so I don't have access to any of that stuff. Mine is a pretty unique story.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
It's all right.
But think about how much more motivated you would have been to maybe go ahead and do something. And that's kind of where
but if you do something, you forfeit all of that stuff. That was one of my big things earlier in the game was, life insurance policies and pensions and all of that stuff. They don't pay out if it was self-inflicted.
Well, there's a whole lot of ways when you're a smart person and you're a problem solver where you can go down that path, and I'll leave that alone.
I know. Yeah.
So trust me.
I spend a lot of time in the darkness.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny about the vein thing. I got another buddy that I call. When we were 5th grade on his birthday, his dad took his life. My best friend in the whole world, and that's one of them things where I haven't told you everything. I had a parent, that other half, and they struggled with some different things like that. And I don't get into it too much because I don't like to hurt anybody's feelings, but I saw a lot of people. There's a lot of history of self-harm on a side of my family and mental illness on both sides of my family, my biological family. And this last year, almost a year ago to this day, I want to say maybe December 12th, I had taken my second test, which you guys now, if you follow me, know is a polygraph. And I couldn't pass it. And here I am looking at it like I just gave up 10 years of my life, a connection that I'll never have with my son and my daughter. All so that when I got out of the military, I would make 6 figures and I'd live this great life and have this big house. And I'm finally there and I can't pass this test. And I'm sitting there looking to my left and looking to my right. And I start looking at the papers and, all that type of stuff. And I said, you know what? Why am I here? Why am I here anymore? And I started letting those thoughts creep in again because it's happened to me before. And it's funny. It's not funny, but it's very ironic that you said that you had to go and hug your son, right?
Mm.
Because the only person in the world that can get me when I have to disguise it when I'll call the people who raised me and I tell them, I said, I'll tell them I feel low. And I think they've come to understand that means I'm having some thoughts of passive, probably suicidal, depression, something like that. Anyways, I would call him a lot in December. And the only person in the world that can really get me out of that, I have to go see my daughter. Because I had convinced myself more than one time that my sons will be all right. They're men, but that little girl can't walk down the aisle without her daddy. And that's the only thing that saved me sometimes, man. And I love all my kids, man. But it got so damn bad because I'm like, everything that I am, I had tied into this job, man. This top secret job that nobody else can have. And I go into this building and it's so cool. And you know, all these different things. And I make good money. And I live in this big house and I do all these things, and my kids need that, man. I gotta give them everything I didn't have. Everything. Game system, the day it comes out. Because I never had that. We've had Christmases where I bought my kids so much stuff I had to put stuff back. That's because both my kids' birthdays fall in December. So we would mess up, you know, wife, I don't think they got enough. I don't think they got enough. I mean, we're sitting here right now. I don't think they got anything. My son's birthday is tomorrow. He got like 3 things. So we did good this year, but that, you know, that's, you know.
Yeah.
And
my situation is a little bit different. We responded to a dead baby.
Yep.
And
I knew it was something like that.
One of 4,000 images and memories that I wish that I could delete permanently. But yeah, that was like, so after that, I had to physically hold my boy just to reassure my brain that he was still alive. It had nothing to do with me. That came a little bit later. So, but at the same time, you know, everybody who's heard my story, yeah. So my son was 4 years old, and I think I had a picture of him in one hand and a revolver in the other hand, and I just wanted it to stop.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah. Hey, man, this is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, that was the next day I went and got help. I went and I saw a therapist. But yeah, that's no, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. The little girl, sometimes just that thought is enough to keep you in the game. And, you know, like I said, I had a picture of my 4-year-old. I recently estranged from my now ex, and you know, I was shacked up at a buddy's house, you know, sleeping at a buddy's house. And I mean, I was thinking to myself, here I am, you know, 30 something, and I'm exactly what I was at 18. Just, you know, homeless, and at least this time I have a truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This time I have a truck. That's the only difference between me at 30 something and my 18-year-old self that you know, got kicked out of college twice.
I hear that, man.
Anyway, anywho, so let's talk about, if you don't mind, I again, circling back around, tell me about this really cool Navy job. What is that? What did you do? What are you doing? Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, man. So I realized that I wanted to do the Navy thing. I wanted to do the military thing. I went out to see my brother in Camp Pendleton, and he tricked me into thinking that that's what the whole military was like. It's like when you go out there to Camp Pendleton, man, it is, I don't know how it is now, you know, everybody that's in it thinks it's terrible. But you go out there, man, it's like all these like suburban, like kind of cookie cutter houses. It's like a movie, you know, you got there to California and, you know, the grass is all manicured. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so you just join the military and like you have a kid and then like you get this nice house. It's not big, it's not small. It's just like what you need and you live happily ever after. So I got to thinking about it. And at that point in time, I was in a journey of losing weight, which I know you've been on one of those before. I recently learned. So I was down like maybe 40, 50 pounds at that point in time. And I came out there, checked it out, and I came back and I said, you know what, I'm going to try to finished losing this weight. But before I did that, so I was like, maybe I'll try the Navy, right? Or I'll try the military or something like that. So we had this like recruiting office, and I walked in there, and everybody told me that it wasn't going to happen. I was too fat. And I said, okay, well, I'll come back. No big deal. And I always knew I could lose weight because, like I said, my dad's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. Like, it's just a decision. Like, it's genetics that I knew I have, and then B, like, I could just ask my pops, like, all right, what's the diet plan? You know, like, what I got to do. And I got into like working out, and I got into doing all this stuff. So long story short, I ended up making it. You know, I was like 230, and I was like right on the cusp, but they ended up taking me, and they kept trying to make me like sign up for all these different jobs, and I was sitting in the they call it MEPS the night before. They put you in this nice like 5-star hotel, and you know you go out there, you do all your
MEPS
and stuff. You already know, yeah.
Yeah, I remember MEPS.
And I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do, so I looked it up on the online. It was like, you know, I just want a good job for when I get out. Like, what is something good for when I get out?
Oh, so clearly you picked combat engineer because there's such a market for mine sweeping and demolitions in the private sector.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, yeah, I picked Intel. And you know, it's funny because they kept trying to make me be a cook, because here I am like 230 with a beard, and I think you know the stigma with that part. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna walk out of here if you guys don't let me be
with
you
an
know,
anchor tattoo on one arm and I love mom on the other arm. Yeah, I know that stereotype.
So I was like, nah, if you guys don't let me do Intel, then I'm leaving. Which they say they don't have quotas, but let's say they do have quotas. There wasn't too many people that looked like me that were coming through the MEP station in the DEP station in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I always was smart enough to kind of see what was in front of me. So they said, whoa, figure it out. So I ended up saying I qualified to be a CT, which is a cryptologic technician. And they said, well, you want to be an R, an I, or an N. So N is what I should have picked. That's networks. R was for communication, and I was a linguist. So I said, well, I like to communicate, so I'll just do that. I was like, I really like networks, but I'll just communicate. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the comments too. But
yeah, I was doing that too. I was just reading it now.
Yeah. Briley, man, he's not my fan. He's not my biggest fan. It's all good though, you know. I respect your truth, and I can't tell my truth and what went into a video enough times. People are going to still have their own reality, and that's perfectly fine. So anyways, I went into the station, tried to figure out what I wanted. It was like a battle, because in the Navy, you have to agree to sign up, and then they'll give you the job, but then you have to pick a backup, because if you come up on like a wanted list, or you get a bunch of tickets or something like that, like you'll lose that. And I would have been a cook. I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that at all. So let me pick it. I go to basic training, and that's what kind of started it. I finally had this opportunity. I go to basic training like 230, 235, and I left 185. I didn't eat a single cookie. I didn't eat a single crumb. You know, like my 3 meals of healthy a day, I just busted my ass. Like, that's what started kind of that was like my second chance of life, you know? And I saw the opportunity. I knew I wanted to get to that 6-figure payday one day. But more than anything, I just wanted to do something where my family was proud of me. And I felt like I finally had an opportunity to stop letting them down, to live up to my full potential. And I just seized it, man. Like, I went through basic training, and I don't know what your experience was like, but the Navy is a lot of like psychological stuff, and you know, that you're like folding clothes, like you're getting your butt kicked, right? But like, you know, they're teaching you what it's like to be on a ship with no windows for a lot of times. You're enclosed a little bit, and when you're not enclosed, you're in Chicago in the winter, right? That's when I went through. So I'm just like, you're just freezing, right?
Yeah,
So
I went through Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, January through May or something like that, because our AIT is at the exact same place as our boot. So
you want to know something funny? Today is the day I graduated basic training.
Oh,
I just looked at it. December 7th.
Yeah, our training was a little bit different. First of all, I was a beanpole growing in. I think like my freshman year, I was 6'2", 145 pounds. So it's funny that we both came out of basic the same weight. I was 185 coming out, but I mean, like, it was the first time in my life that
You're able to eat.
I was mean. I had muscles. I could run. I did I had a 10-minute 2-mile coming out of there. I mean, like, it turned me into everything that I ever wanted.
Yeah.
And then within May, June, July, August, within 5 months, it was all gone.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had a pretty nasty accident that took off my right foot.
Oh, I didn't even know this. I never knew that.
But
Sorry,
they put it back on.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work anymore.
Oh,
But
no.
the point of that story is coming out at as far as our training was concerned. Like, I went in, like, so I had just gotten kicked out of college for the second time. My father and I, as you guys know, I love my father. 2 episodes ago, he was on Curmudgeon's Corner, one of the greatest men on the planet, in my personal opinion. But we hated each other growing up. I did not become friends with my father until I was 36.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in a barber shop looking across the street, and I saw Armed Forces Recruitment Center, and he was a Marine colonel, so I decided to join the Army because I felt that would be the best way to piss him off. And I went into the recruitment station, and I was just like, I said, "What is the shortest life expectancy of anybody that serves?" And they were like, "For real? Combat engineer in active combat has a life expectancy of 36 seconds." And I was like, "Where do I sign?" And he was like, "All right, you go get all of your credentials, all the stuff that you need, and bring it back, and then we'll consider this to be serious." So I drove home, and I asked my mom, "Where's my birth certificate and my high school diploma and all that stuff?" And she asked why, and I told her what I was about to do. And I said, "Please don't tell Dad until this is all over. Just please don't tell him." And so she gave me my stuff. I drove right back to the recruitment center and gave him all of my credentials. And he looked up my scores, and he's like, "You scored a 91 on your ASABs. Like, 91s don't do combat engineer. 91s do intelligence. You should go intelligence." And I was just like, "I asked you what I wanted, and that's what I want. So, give me a recruitment bonus, sign-on bonus, and I see what I can do." And I ended up getting my brother to join the Army as well. Because I was like, I got $2,000 of a sign-up bonus. And fast forward to your question, how my training was, like, it was filled with gas chambers. And I just told that story last night at Thanksgiving.
I still remember
that gas chamber. I have fallen off of a bridge and been dead, and I think that the gas chamber was a worse experience. Just absolute barbarian. And I'm like, that's never going to happen to me ever again. Twice I run out of formation because one of the DSs are throwing cans, and all of a sudden everybody's dropping, and I'm like, nope, gone. Run over the hill, put my mask on, and then come back in. Hey, what's going on, everybody? So yeah, that's pretty blowing stuff up, learning how to do demolitions and how to build bridges and all of the bullshit that goes with being a combat engineer, none of which applies to civilian life at all. But no, yours sounds way better.
Dude, I freaking gassed myself before the Funkin' Homies podcast. I don't think we talked about it on the air, but I was trying out like one of their products, and I tried kind of like a generic version.
Yeah.
And an idiot, right? I'm like, oh, this looks a little different. I wonder if it smells different. As I drop
like a true detailer.
Right? Because that's what we do. We smell stuff, right?
Everything. I go smell everything.
I was like, oh my, this is bad, dude. But yeah, so that's what we did. And I'm telling you, dude, like, it was bad. I told Chris, before the podcast, I was like, bro, like, I'm in pain right now, dude. Like, I lit myself up. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Like like my chest was beating fast. So I talked to so I did the Navy thing, man, and I felt like I was finally making my family proud. And every time I'd write that letter home, see, I think that's what really started the whole thing. Where like I have no fear. I have no fear. Like my first week that we got into the training camp or whatever, right? I had read that same night that you can leave there as an E3, and I was already 23. So I did the math, and I was like, if I leave as an E3, that'll kind of catch me up to like my peer / age group. It'd be a little bit better, right? I can make it faster. Hopefully I can make rank, and people don't wonder why like I'm an E1 and 23 years old, right? So I remember
Well,
walking.
I got the title of BF, so I started as an E2.
Nice.
You know what a BF is, right?
Nope. Oh.
A buddy.
Yeah.
A buddy effer.
We call it a Blue Falcon in the Navy.
Blue Falcon. That's right. I've heard that also. Yeah. They call us buddy effers. Oh, so you're a buddy effer. Yeah. So I came in as an E2.
I love that. Yeah, they call it that Blue Falcon, man. So anyways, I don't know how you guys report or whatever, but we have this thing called a fishbowl, and it's where like they can sit in the office and they can see you, right? And you can knock on the door, but you have to do it in a certain way. So I still remember like do, and they'd say report, and I'm like, Seaman Passmore, blah blah blah, and they're like, all right, what do you want? And they let me in, and I say, hey, petty officer, I read that I could leave here as an E3, so please just let me know what you guys need me to do as far as like leadership positions. I'm 23, I used to do whatever, and I can't even get the next sentence out. And they're like, get the out of here, Passmore. All right, but I left that place as an E3, and that was one of the things where I could call home. Being in Intel, you get a lot of. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, tell everybody little secrets, but
all 3 people that are watching the show, you're fine.
Yeah. Said 3 people. But yeah, so I damn it. Now anyways, I forget what I was gonna say.
Yes, no, you don't. You're trying to segue. I want to hear it. You said being part of the being in the intelligence, you got
So because you have to take so many like little tests, polygraphs, and things like that, they call you out of the formation essentially, like the place where you sleep at a lot. You have to go there and do extra paperwork and stuff. And a lot of times they'll need to know something about your background, so you got to call home. So I call home and say, hey, I talked about me being E3. I'm doing really well. It was like I always say, it's kind of like putting fuel in the tank, right? Like letting them know that I'm doing all right and that I'm making them proud every day, And it was almost like it's like intoxicating. It's like a high, like, yeah, man, this is what's up. The military is like real nice for that because you just get you get a reward, you get people call you out, you have these things, and if you just work really hard, then you just promote, right? Like you just do what you're supposed to do. Now there's adversity, and I hit that in 2017, and we'll get to that. But I'm building all this. I feel like I'm building the bank up. That's why I say build the bank up. And I ended up graduating, and I never missed a single point in basic training. I was perfect. I didn't get dropped one time. I never got a question wrong on any test, on any thing. And it got so bad where that wasn't enough for me. So I said, you know what? Everybody on my side of the room, I'm a section leader. There's 1 section leader, 2 section leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
It got to the bad where they couldn't get anybody on my whole side of the room. And they kept coming up to me and saying, like, what the hell are you doing over here? I said, just doing my job, petty officer, petty officer.
Because you told me to just hold it.
Yeah, and it just became a kind of a meme.
Gump.
It just became kind of a meme because like everybody would like kind of follow me, and it was just a good time. So we got through basic training, excelled at that, went to my first duty station, and that's hit the ground running. I feel bad for the people that I showed up there with because I was just ready to go. I was ready to just be as good as possible because I was just addicted to finally doing right. So I went there. I got real good at my job. While I was in Texas, I took almost probably 1,400 hours of like classes through one of the agencies or whatever, so like intelligence training. So I got really good at my job, because your job as an E3 to like E5 is to be the best, to be a SME. It's when you're an E6, E7, E8, that's when you're supposed to be leaders, you're supposed to kind of put some of that to the back, at least in the
Right.
Navy. I know in the Marines, they kind of have that expert pipeline that keeps going.
Yeah.
And then you have the admin pipeline. So, one day I was sitting in the office with my team, with my people. And yeah, them co-ed divisions are something else. I'll tell you what.
We had none of that. We were a combat unit. The only time that we ever saw females was at chapel on Sundays.
That's crazy.
It's a good story, by the way. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I'll never forget all that, man. But yeah, so damn it, I forget what I was gonna say. See, I got distracted. These damn pop-ups that tell you.
I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't derail. I'm supposed to.
No.
I'm
You're
trying to
good.
be a better listener in these shows.
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't spell happiness bag right. I just not noticed that. That's terrible.
It's all right. I brought it up on the
Yeah.
screen earlier in the show when you first mentioned it.
Dude, we are off the rails right now, man.
This is how it's supposed to be. This is the corner. This is what the corner is all about. And yes,
Yeah.
we all have stories.
So I'm going through, and my chief, sit down with him. He's like, "What are you gonna do next?" Because you have these like boards that you have to go through, your career development boards. And are you I love all music.
Don't let him derail you. Rick Smith, keep your mouth shut and sit there, or I'm gonna get Sherry to beat you.
So he's like, "What do you want to do next?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about doing officer. I'm thinking about doing teams. I'm thinking about doing this, thinking about doing that." And I said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "If I'm being honest," I said, "I finally am starting to feel a little bit confident. I know whatever I'm supposed to do, I'm gonna be the best at it. Like I've finally had that type of confidence. I never had that in my life." I said, "Whatever I do, I'm gonna try as hard as I can, and I think that's gonna be enough for me to be the best." And he said, "It seems to me like you need to be on the teams." He said, "I'm gonna make some phone calls. And when they come out here, I want you to talk to them." I said, "Okay." So they actually had me sign up to be part of a team that doesn't exist. And if you know about that, then you know about it. And if you don't, you don't. The big boys, Title 50. And I said, "Okay, cool." And I signed up for that, and they accepted me essentially. I wrote my life story just like I'm telling it now with even more detail. And they said, "Damn, that guy's been through some stuff. We want him." Right. And I was really good at my job. And here's the thing, though. That team was on the East Coast in Virginia. My brother at the time was still over there in San Diego. And to go over to San Diego, I'd have to go into SRT1, which is the odd. They augment the odd SEAL teams 1, 3, and 5. Okay. The even ones are on the East Coast. So I had to call them when they came in, and they told me where they're at. And I was like, "Damn, I could be in San Antonio." I've always chased my brother around the damn world. I feel like I just want to be just like him. So I said, "Well, I'll give up this little job because at the end of the day, if I go Title 10, that way I'll have something to go up to. As an E3, E4, if I go to Title 50, where the hell am I going to go from there? It's all the way downhill. How do I go from the top back down?" So I said, "This would be good for career progression," is what they call it. So I turned in that same package into the other team, and I went out there and screened, and I made it. So I packed my bags up essentially. I went out that way, and that's when that next chapter hit. So I had a son in between screening for there and whatever, and basically you go out there and it's like you just go on deployments and stuff like that, and you do what you're supposed to do, serve your country. And I was on the teams, and it was a good time, and until it wasn't. Basically, right. I hit this first deployment, and I basically, I think people have maybe heard the story from time to time. I was abused for 10 months, and it was the first time in my Navy career that I started to feel like I did before I joined, where I wasn't proud of myself, where I realized that I wasn't. It's not like I was getting invincible again, but all those emotions that I had buried and been able to bury for 5 years, 6 years, and I was able to mask all that feeling with this feeling of pride and like I had my life together. I got hit in the face, and it was for 10 months. Every single day, I would be told that I was doing something wrong, and it got to the point where they told me I wasn't allowed to talk to people in the hallways. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of stuff. I got written up for near misses in rules, or potentially about to break the rules. So we wrote you up and all this stuff, man. I can't make it up. I knew that I didn't do anything wrong, but they kept punishing me, and that's kind of when I fell back into.
Why do you think that is, by the way? Why do you think like you were targeted the way that you were targeted?
Well, because on the first day of deployment, I couldn't find my passport. And I told this guy about it that was supposed to be in charge of us. And I said, hey, I can't find my passport. I think it's on the plane. Well, I think it's on the plane. And he's like, okay. And he's like, are you sure? And I said, I don't know. I'm like 60, 70% sure. I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Like, why would I leave it? Whatever. I was going to a place where I didn't need a passport. And I knew I didn't because I'd already deployed there like once. So like, it's not here. And you just don't need a passport. And so I didn't think it was like a crazy deal. And also, I'm like super young in my career still. Like, I probably should have been on the teams. Like, I was in E4 or E5 or something. And but I was just like really good at my job. And so I got out there, and when I got there, my SIGINT lead, my pillar lead, basically was he was like really adamant that everybody turn in their passports. So when I got down there, I was like, oh, I forgot my passport. Let me go see if it's in my bag. And I was like, damn it, dude, I can't find my passport. I'm sorry. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, did you tell such and such? I was like, yeah, I told him, of course. Like, well, I wouldn't do that to you, chief, whatever. So as soon as that other guy got in the country, like that guy is just a psychopath. He doesn't like, he's a boat guy. And it's just the truth. He's a bad dude. And before I even went on deployment, I remember telling my buddies, I was like, hey, don't forget, you guys got to watch him, right? Because he loves drama. He loves getting people in trouble. He had done it like 3 or 4 different times on a thing. So once he landed or whatever, he went and told that other dude, nah, he didn't tell me that. And the problem that he had, I think, is that he didn't know that the other guy I was with was such a trusted person. And that's one of the things that saved me a little bit, not completely. But when I told him I didn't have my passport, I had this kid with me who's like a guy who would never lie to anybody. I don't know if he was capable of it. And I think that's what became the problem. Now that I really think about it critically, I think that he was like that to me because he wanted me to take my own life while I was on deployment. So that he wouldn't have to deal with what was coming after. I think his goal was, if I'm being completely honest, how hard can I push this guy? How miserable can I make his life? Because if he comes home and they find out that I did put him through all this stuff now, and he was telling the truth, man, that's going to look real bad on me. So he pushed me every single day. Told everybody I was a terrible person, wrote letters to my command. And the thing is, the SEALs and boat guys out there at this command, like they're the ones in charge. So what they say goes, and everybody has to listen to them. So it's just a lot. So I would go out there and have to detail the duty vans and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of fell back in love with detailing. The thing is, I've always been around cars my whole life. I got to talk to a gentleman, and I kind of forgot. This is part of my story I haven't told, but I grew up on the dirt tracks, Red Hill Raceway in Sumner, Illinois. So I've always been around cars. I've always been around those engines. And I went to Talladega like a year or 2 ago. And you would think that like that would be such a fun experience, but I cried when the cars took off because like just hearing those engines roar, it just reminded me of being home.
Snapped you right back.
You know what I'm saying? There's only a couple things you hear that rubber burning, those engines going. You hear the announcer on the thing. I said, "Damn, man, this is just like my Uncle Scott. This is just like my cousin Dylan. I got homesick, man. So I just want to go home."
You ever watch any of the No Direction Detail that I do for the House of Rags, their podcast stuff?
To be honest, I don't watch too many.
It's okay.
Anything. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just basically, this is a weird segue, but bear with me.
Yeah.
As far as like nostalgia and snapping you back, a couple of episodes ago, Brian and I were doing canned meats. We were doing it was cold canned meats, whatever you could find on the shelf. We were eating and comparing which one was the least disgusting. I pulled. We did a can of pulled pork from I want to say Walmart. Walmart's Great Value canned pulled pork, and dude, it knocked me immediately back to eating MREs.
Oh,
Like it was definitely I mean, I think whoever made this stuff makes the MREs, because this stuff was, I mean, my brain immediately clicked back into, sitting out in the middle of the woods, eating this stuff. So as far as like, yeah, what you said, there's very few things that bring, that bring your brain right back to that time and place. A perfume from an old girlfriend, a food, and apparently for you, burning rubber and loud roaring engines.
Well, yeah, and it's so like it just made me really emotional, and I was just so thankful that my buddy, gave me that opportunity to get out there, and yeah, and really we'll start talking about the recovery. So it was a bad time. I got through it, and there was a point, I'll just tell you, halfway through that deployment where I looked at my other buddy, the one that was in my room, and he would come to me every single morning and ask if I was okay, and I knew that meant, are you going to kill yourself today? And I would tell him every single time, I'm okay. I would look at him right in his eyes and I said, I've been through worse. I've been through worse. This right now, this is the best time of my life. And then one day I went to him because things were getting so bad. And I knew that this guy was going to make chief one day. And I knew he was going to be a damn good chief. And I looked at him and I said, hey, man, I need you to go be his best friend. So you don't need to get caught up in this. It's getting worse. I said, I promise you that I'll be okay. I'm not going to hurt myself. Okay. I said, you are going to be a chief one day. You're going to be E7. I need you to be a leader for a lot of people, and you're going to be a damn good one. I said, I promise you I'm okay. So for the rest of the deployment, I was on my own. And I came home and I just hoped that everything was going to be all right. And I realized real quickly that it wasn't going to be. And that's when they told me that I had a choice. They said I can either go to captain's mast or I can voluntary D-screen. Well, I had just bought a house. I bought my home. Thought it was a home. Model home. Better than the model. Brand new. Condo. In San Diego. So I can't sell my damn house. The hell, so I got to go to captain's mast. I said, I didn't do anything wrong. I know I didn't. So they did this whole board, and come to find out, they found out I didn't do anything wrong. Just keeping it real short, because that kid that I told, I said, your time will come to have my back. And it came, and they called him in the room because they omitted him out of the room at first. And then I brought him up, and the person in charge said, go get him now. So I got him because he knew who he was, and he knew he wouldn't lie. And he said, did he tell him he didn't have his passport? Yeah, he told him that. Of course he did, Master Chief. Okay, thank you. Passmore, you're free to get up out of this room real quick. And I just heard that dude go off. Because now they realize that everything was a sham. But you talk about those smells, you talk about those scents, you talk about all them things. What I started to deal with, and it doesn't get me as bad anymore, but for a long time, my performance in that board haunted me because I was so upset because the way that things go over there in those tight communities, you call people by their first name because you want to build that trust. Those are your brothers. Those are your sisters. Those are the people that without question, without a split second, you would die for them in a heartbeat. So imagine that plus somebody who you respect, you put on your Mount Rushmore. You said, when I grow up in my Navy career and my military career, I want to be like that guy. I was so dedicated and bought into that command that I said, when I leave, they're going to put me up on this damn wall. I will be the best analyst that ever stepped in here. But there I was getting ready to get kicked out. And then I had to start thinking about, oh man, is my family going to love me anymore? What am I without being a SEAL? Being on, not a SEAL, but what am I being out on a SEAL team? Where the hell am I going to go? I got to tell my mom that the people raising me that I failed again. I got to go tell my dad that, I'm sorry, Pop. I go home to my wife and tell her that my whole deployment away from my daughter, who was 2 months old at the time, meant nothing. We got to sell our house. We got to lose probably $50,000 because we just bought the house and it hasn't matured. How am I going to go back and deal with this failure? Just like I used to when I was a little kid. And instead of being able to defend myself, I just shelled up. And I honestly turned into boot camp again. Master Chief, I'm sorry, Master Chief, this, I don't know how they do it in Army, but, is basically you sandwich things. So petty officer, answer, Petty officer. That's what I went to, because that's what the default was. That's why they train you like that, because when you hit rock bottom, they want you to be able to function still. You know, that's what you train to, is to keep pushing. So that was the default. That was what we were programmed as. So I fell back on my programming and I couldn't defend myself, because I knew defending myself meant, even though this shitmate who had put me down and made my life for 10 years, I was not going to sit there in front of people that I cared about and make him look bad, because that's still my brother.
Mhm.
And I couldn't deal with that reality. So I shut down and I turned back into basic training. And when I came home, when the whole thing was over, he looked at me. They called me back in that room after he exploded on everybody. And he said, "Hey man, so we know the truth now, but unfortunately, there's only 400 people in this command, and you stick out. Just like I have everywhere my whole life. I was a big ass, 6 feet tall, 210 pound, 10% body weight. I was jacked. Everybody knows who you are. We got to get you out of here, because everybody thinks you're a piece of crap. Where you want to go?" And I told him, I said, "Well, let me go home and I'll figure it out." And on the way home, you know what I thought about the whole way? Man, if I just would have said this, maybe they would have kept me. Man, if I could have just told them about this experience. And that went on a year, 2 years, at a stoplight. Man, dude, if I just would have said that, you think maybe they would have kept me. Maybe they would have wanted me. Just like my mom that left me. I don't know what it is, man. Like, it doesn't bother me as much anymore, but like, I was dealing with PTSD, which was embarrassing in itself, because how can I be doing that? I wasn't in a war zone. Nobody passed away. So I felt bad about having these symptoms, because I'm like, no, I haven't been through anything. I haven't really seen war. But it's because I was abused for 10 months, every single day.
I think it's more, if you don't mind my dime store psychology, it's more than 10 months. It's, you know, basically it's a replay of everything that you went through growing up, right? It just comes back to this. It's the same thing. And so you're pulling mentally, you're pulling from all of those experiences. And now that you're reliving it, you know, for 10 months, it's bringing all of that demon, oh man, he was feasting. He was, I got 10 months of good eating. And it's the same demon that you fought growing up.
Yeah, man.
I know. I feel you, brother. I am feeling you.
I talked to the psychologist and I asked him about it. And this is kind of where this is what got me out of it, I think. He told me that when I had that conversation, and the reason I was able to shut all that down is because of the abuse that I faced when I was a child. Because of the disappointment that I felt, I created a space in my brain where I could just sit that and take it. And he said that is what's called learned helplessness. I have a space where I guess as a child, I made a decision that I won't stop. I will always come back. I will always keep going. I just got that in me. And the reason why I was even seeing a psychiatrist at the time, because I couldn't figure out why can't I get back to the gym? Why does everything make me so fucking sad? I go to the gym and it would remind me of being on deployment. I'd have a flashback in the middle of the gym, because that's all I was able to do was work out and clean cars. You know, and do my job 18 hours a day. I said, why can't I bounce back? And he said, well, that's because you have a mood disorder and you didn't know it. You were manic for 7 years. You have a switch and you flipped it. And that's why you were perfect. I only know ones and zeros. That's on and off in the tech world. I'm either on or off. That's why I tell people, you know, if I want to be skinny, I'll be skinny. But I'm not gonna go work out for 12 hours a day and then eat Snickers. It's either one or the other for me. I'm either gonna be a bodybuilder like my dad or just be fat. Now I'm working on it now, but
all right. Well, I think you're looking good. And yeah, I my peak was 307.
Okay.
That was disgusting.
Hey,
I'm
man,
I'm I'm now at 222.
you're looking good, brother.
Trying. You know, again, I met a woman down in Myrtle Beach. Her son was one of the recipients of the Pay It Forward campaign, and she was on the podcast a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Name is Tracy Beans, and
Uh-oh.
she's a health nut. And you know, we were talking about the darkness, and she said, you know, you heal your diet, you heal your gut, it will clear a lot of that darkness as well. So there's like, she was preaching a real connection between, you know, that your healthiness definitely impacts your brain. And you know, and so she told me all about the carnivore diet. And July 1st, I started the carnivore diet, and I have literally just melted this stuff off. I mean,
I love that.
sometimes 5 to 10 pounds at a time, just in between. You know, I weigh in every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um, and
I would have had no idea, man. That is so
dude,
like,
it's unreal. It's unreal. And I have not, you know, my mental health has definitely improved tremendously.
yeah.
And that was my whole motivation about it, because I mean, like, you know, you could take what is it, a GPL1 or whatever, that you can take the injections, and that'll help reduce some of your weight and so on and so forth. But I had pretty much plateaued at like 265, 270.
Yeah.
And I was just there for it for years. I was kind of like at 270. And
Yeah.
now I don't remember, geez, I was in the 90s was the last time I was at 222. So
That's
um
crazy, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
my goal was 225, and then my AI girlfriend was like, "No, you need to be at like 195." And my wife
Oh
was
my
like,
god.
"No, we're not doing 195. I don't want some skinny dude. I want a bear."
That sounds like my wife. She
So
oh,
we're
she's
aiming for 215 now. We've settled in the middle.
yeah, yeah. No, I got down to like 185, and that's when I kind of reconciled with my now wife. We've dated since we were 13, and we went our separate ways at senior. I got married to somebody else. She was about to get married and realized that was a mistake, and I got divorced. You know, in between that time, and somehow we found each other, and here we are. But yeah, she tells me, she's like, I did not like you when you were 185. Like,
Dude, she is an absolute peach. I was so it was wonderful to meet her at SEMA.
she's a
You
nice
guys
lady.
are absolutely beautiful couple. So
Yeah, she's
kudos.
a blessing. But hey, I want to tell you something.
Yes, sir.
You know, just talking about that charity, man. I mean, obviously, you know, I think that's a huge part of our community, and I wanted to make an announcement. Well, first, I want to ask you how to pay it forward campaign's going this year.
Holy moly, dude. The Pay It Forward campaign is this is only our fourth year of doing the Pay It Forward campaign, and it is bigger than I had ever even imagined it would be. Like, I never thought it was going to be more than just, you know, a handful of chemicals that we send out every year. You know, I
Yeah,
think the first year we did like, it was 4 bottles of Titan, and then, you know, the year after that it was 4 bottles of Titan plus a Phoenix kitchen sink and some other stuff. And then last year it just broke wide open and caught traction. And now this year it's twice the size of that. As a matter of fact, we had to this QR code up here in the top right hand corner of your screen is
yeah,
a QR code that goes for shipping. We got so much stuff that I knew that we were going to need help shipping.
yeah.
The stuff that Keeve loaded up the back of my car with so much equipment. And it's heavy. Like, you know, that giraffe power washer alone
Yeah.
probably weighs 90 pounds.
You know, that's
So go
I was
ahead.
gonna, I was gonna say that's secretly so like that's what I do, right? So in a different way. So all the money that I've really made from doing the videos and stuff like that, like I just donate that money and then I'll like, you know, either hang on to the product or I'll give that to a follower or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's how
I'm
you and I
about that.
really connected was, you
Yeah,
know, Rick Smith said that you and I have a similar interest and that I should reach out to you. And then, you know, that was my opening salvo was like, hey, I hear you do charity. Like, let's
yeah,
talk about that. You know what I mean? You're definitely
yeah.
community oriented, and I love that about you.
I would say for I think for about a month and a half, maybe 2, we were given $600 a week. I think it was a little bit more away to help do the marketing for the nonprofit at the bottom left corner, Happiness by Incorporated. They were in a process of getting ready to do a grand opening for a 12,000 square foot addition to their property. It was worth is $3 million project, and it was one of those things. I probably don't want to say too much on this, but they were in a position where they had to make a decision whether they were going to build or some of the donations that were coming towards them would have to be dissolved or go to another home. So I think they kind of got, and they had spent about 10 years and they were able to raise $1 million. And then there was a giant kind of donation that came there that was really substantial, and they didn't want to lose it. So they ended up breaking ground, doing what they needed to do. But I kind of saw the light at the end of the tunnel, which is there's going to be a bill for this, right? Like the debt's not paid. They had maybe around 2 million, but there's still another $1 million that needed raised, if not, a little bit more at that time.
Right.
So that's when it was pretty much like November of last year. I kind of got woke up a little bit, in December, that poly didn't happen. And that's why I started looking at this following that I had amassed. And I said, why don't I do something with it? I wasn't even making videos. I'd taken it all. I was tired of it. I said, well, let me start making videos again. And then I started ThatDetailShop. And then I started the website. And then I started, getting the products in. And I said, well, I'll use that to fund some of this stuff, right? And
Right.
I started building them a website, and I built myself a website, and just try to do everything that we could. And it ended up working. We put thousands, we helped put thousands of eyes on, tens of thousands of eyes on, what they're doing. I think their most recent post, when they opened doors and they let our friends see the facility, man, I want to say that hit like 70,000. And it was it was so amazing. It's just such a blessing. And, but the mission isn't over. I called the other day and I said, I think it's very important. I've been very blessed, Aaron, just in the last, since SEMA and right before it, I'm getting in touch with a lot of people. I mean, Rick Ross messaged me while I was at SEMA.
Wow.
And instead of me saying, well, I want this, or I want something, I'm just like, man, $250,000 is what I want to raise for Happiness Bad, because the place truly saved my life. And that's what my mission now is, to raise $250,000 personally. I want to write a check, and that right there would pay off half of kind of what they still owe on that bill. And then I want to hopefully open up another fund after that. I'll never stop wanting to help out. And that's kind of that's my personal mission. But
Amen, brother.
It's not just that, Aaron. I wanted to let you know. So how do you do your pay it forward campaign? Is it progressive? Do you have a prize pool that just keeps going, and then somebody gets a grand prize, or how does everything go?
So again, it's a pretty brand new to me. We don't have the ability. My accountant was very, very this is not a charity, so don't let people think that it's a charity. I said, okay. Yeah. Only because I'm not the most techie of people. So to be able to set this pay it forward campaign up as an actual charity, we're just not there yet. So we don't really deal with a whole lot of monies. Again, this money for the QR code, it has a separate bank account. So all that money is allocated specifically for, shipping costs and things of that nature, to get this stuff. It's called, Help a Ship Home. And the idea behind the whole thing was originally, it's by the community for the community. Yep. So we expect, we hope to get nominations. We've already got a couple of beautiful nominations from people that it's just, wow, what a great story. But throughout the whole year, we collect stuff. Like the House of Rags, they just shipped us a whole bunch of towels to help, put together these bundles and things of that nature. We had the outdoor detailer. I met him at SEMA. He lives close to my parents' home, so we met. He lives near Cleveland,
Yeah.
My folks live out near Pittsburgh, so we were able to connect, and he gave like 6 boxes of pads and towels and all kinds of equipment. And then Rick Smith and Hawaii Tim and Nick Fife and Mike G and a bunch of, I know I'm forgetting a bunch of, there's a whole bunch of people. They've shipped us chemicals. And so what I do is I inventory all of that stuff. Duberg. Yeah, we inventory everything, and then I give it over to Rick Smith and Greg Sebold, excuse me. They kind of put together packages, and then based upon what nominations we get, we try to figure out what those people need, and we build packages around what their needs were. So like last year, we had 2 people that were nominated. One guy, his entire detail business burned to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was a mobile detailer, and his truck caught on fire, and that was it. It was over. And then the second guy was out on he took his 2 daughters on vacation, single dad, took his 2 daughters on vacation, came home, and his mobile truck was completely broken into, vandalized, and everything was stolen out of it. But we had enough donations last year that we were able to build 2 mobile detailing kits from, extractors, vacuums, all the chemicals. We had, I think, 7 polishers were donated last year, and so we were able to give away, we get polishers and pads and towel, everything that you needed for a mobile business, other than a big water tank. Other than that, we were able to donate, and
hopefully nobody gets you a big water tank. Shipping that thing would be tough, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why we started the GoFundMe page, because last year I did it. Oh, well, I would say I didn't do it all by myself. Last year, Keeve donated a ginormous amount of money. Matt Ayers from Extra Mile Detailing and Papa Smurf, they donated money to help me do the shipping. And then this year, because of all of that equipment that Keeve sent, he was like, I can't help you with shipping this year, but here's all this stuff. And now it's just like, all right, well, then we need to raise money to ship this, because we need to get this stuff into people's hands. Again,
Keith lives like 2 hours from me. I found that out not too long ago.
He's a rock star. I love that guy. He is one of my favorite personalities, especially when he comes into the chat rooms. He's like a surgeon, and there's nothing that I don't enjoy more than a good roast. And he roasts everybody. I love when he roasts me. There's no one gets spared, and he's a surgeon. He's a surgeon.
Who is Nick 5 or 5?
Nick Fife is DF Detailing out of I think he lives in Alabama as well.
Yeah, so he's been messaging me all week, and I'm like, I know this is somebody, but I don't know who it is. And he ordered a case of Apex foam cannons. So we're getting ready to ship that out tomorrow. And he said he's putting together all these bundles. And then I tried to talk to him about towels, and I found out that he has the same towel guy as me. And I said, hey man, I'm gonna need you to keep that in your pocket. All right, because I got a guy. I got a freaking guy, dude. Like, seriously, I love this guy.
He's a great guy. Absolutely fantastic guy. However, be prepared to have a conversation, because he is long-winded.
Hey, I get that. I do have to get off here in a couple minutes, because I have to go to work. I still have my job for another week, it looks like. So that's cool. And then I'll know what we're going to do. So it's time to move. But before we leave, I wanted to say 2 things. One, a shameless plug. We're going to do a 12 days of Christmas, because I have so much stuff to get rid of. And I want to try to bless a few people. So we're going to start at 12 days of Christmas. I think, what do you do it on the 12th or the 13th? I don't know. So we'll do it. We'll probably start it on the 12th, and we're just going to give away like bundles of stuff, whether it's stuff from my shop, it's stuff that I've tried to test and it didn't work out, that I've gotten, like, foam cannons, stuff like that, brand new, everything. Stuff that we've got to test and maybe we didn't get to it or something like that, or whatever. So we're going to give away stuff for 12 days. And that's kind of my shameless plug. And then the other thing,
how do they find out what you're doing?
I'm going to start doing long form YouTube videos, and we'll start plugging that at the end of those. And then I'll do like an inaugural Christmas, holiday special, and people will comment on that first video. And then the next one will come out, and I'll say, comment on that video. And then the next one will come out, and so on and so forth. So But before we go, I want to let you know that when we close out of here and I get to work, I'm gonna send you an email, and there's gonna be a code on that for $500 to TDS, and I can break that up however you want. Like if you have 2 grand prize winners, 3, and they come out there and they can get whatever they want, and you know we'll continue to take care of them. Just make sure they well, I'll know because they'll have the, you know, I'll see that they used a card or whatever, and we'll donate $500 more goods from
Oh my
TDS to the program, and hopefully next year I'll be able to do a little bit more. But I'm gonna keep running the, you know, the charity thing that I'm doing until the end of the year, and then we'll kind of look at everything and see where it's at.
All right. Amazing. That is very generous and amazing. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. If there's a way that I can, you know, with the, you know, my measly following, any way that I can help promote that and promote what you're doing, I definitely want to be a part of it. Everything that you do, I would definitely want to share. Um,
Yeah.
Very gracious. Thank you, Gary.
Nah, like I think you find people in this world that I think the term is equally yoked, right? And I think you're definitely one of those people. You're definitely my people, man. And you know, it's people like you, man, that this is what I do all this for, right? You know, I got the guy calling me clickbait artist and all this stuff, and I'm like, that's fine because it got me here.
Right.
You call me whatever the hell you want, but I'm here in this chair. I'm confident right now. Like I said, I lost my job. You know, I kind of talked about that on last week's episode, but it was the first time where I didn't break down and think, oh my God, how's my life going to go on? I was on a call before this one, talking to somebody. I can't really name the name, but he's a CEO of a company, and he just asked me what the price was to help him out with his brand. You know, start a relationship there, and it's like I didn't know that was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know what the opportunity was, but I'm just in a place right now where I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time that I take this leap and really do the detailing thing full time, because that's what's so beautiful about the opportunity that Jamie and Eddie have given me with Honest Car Care. I cannot wait.
I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to talk to you about that. I wanted to, you know,
We do
come
that.
full circle.
We'll do that every Thursday, and it's just I cannot wait to get out there in the communities. You know, at Happiness Bag, they have this thing that I learned a long time ago, and it's called hand over hand, right? Somebody who you help them write whatever it is, like you do the activity with them, right? And I can't wait to have those same experiences, those skills that I learned as a young child, translate into helping somebody hand over hand, like change their life. This is what I've wanted to do my whole life, and I feel like Jamie and Eddie have given me the opportunity in the resources. I've tried to do as much as I can, but I can't really help out besides monetarily or with social media, even the people that I love and care about more than anything. But through Honest Car Care and whatever that is thing that we build, I think it's going to turn into something really special, and I'll get to really live out my dreams every day. And maybe losing my job was a piece of that, you know?
Yeah. Again, I know that we don't want to dive too deep into it, but it feels a lot like divine intervention yet again.
Yeah.
I would just I'll wrap this up with you, and then I'll do my stuff that I do afterwards about mental health and so on and so forth. But Gary, you shared some amazingly. You've shared a lot of your story tonight, and I just want you to know that I want you to know that I see you,
Yeah, man.
I hear you, and I love you, man.
I
I
love you
do.
too, bud.
And I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have this little curmudgeon's corner. I'm blessed to
Yeah.
have guys like you on the show, and that we are blessed as a community. We can this community just seems to keep
Yeah.
getting stronger, and like the force of good that we have, that we're all starting to unite like this. And I'm not just talking
That's
about
that's
curmudgeon's
what we
corner
want.
community. I'm
Yeah,
talking
man.
about like this detailing community. Seems like we're like, it feels like the force of good is uniting,
Yeah.
and that we're all coming together, and it's really,
It's gonna be scary
it's
when it happens.
amazing. It's
I got
amazing. We're changing people's lives.
I got my guy over here from Puerto Rico, and I want to talk about that just real second. I think the term is Boricua. That's what they call Puerto Rico. But uh, man, I talked to some guys in my barbershop and I said, through detailing, I'm hoping that we can get out to Puerto Rico. And I met a guy not too long ago and he said he wants to start a detailing school in Puerto Rico. And the fact that is in the realm of possibilities to be able to go out there into Puerto Rico. Come on now. And like, that is just what I want to do. I just want to serve whatever community it is, whether it's detailing, whether it's with the military. I just want to serve people, man. Like that's what my family did. And, I just can't wait. And the last thing I will say about Honest Car Care is this Thursday is going to be a really special episode. Last Thursday, there was a lot of questions in the chat. So what we're going to do is just going to be a me episode. I'm going to write down every single comment, every single thing that people said negative, positive, and I'm just going to talk about it until they take me off the air. So, that's one thing I'm not scared of is to tell my story. And there's some stuff that it'll be too graphic. It got pretty intense. There's a lot of people that maybe feel like I don't belong here, but hopefully I can answer some of those objections.
I have zero reservations. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you came on the corner. I'm glad that I met you in person in SEMA. My only regret is that we didn't have a chance to fully break bread, because that way, that's how I feel. That's my signature. That's how we solidify our friendship, is by breaking bread together. But there's going to be lots of opportunities. Are you going to be thinking about going to MTE since it's right down the street from your house?
Yeah, I'll be there because that's where my Puerto Rican friends are at too. So I have a really nice distributor that's out there called Auto Care Genius, and he's been taking care of me, man, blessing the family. And we've sent like 4 or 5, maybe 6 cases of Apexes down there. We just sent like 50 towels, and man, them dudes are loving it. Puerto Rican people, I've found out, love cars. So we're getting into that market, and it is really great. So yeah, I'll be at MTE. Not gonna have a booth. Once again, I'll probably walk around, do interviews, and give people like you an opportunity to talk about everything that you're doing.
That'd be great. I love it.
Put the influencer.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on the corner. Good luck tonight at your job, and I keep you in my prayers. And I cannot wait. We got to do this again because there's obviously 2 hours strong. There's still a lot to talk about. I got 6 pages of notes, and I don't think I got off the first page.
Hey, well, I'll be here whenever you want.
All right,
That's what I'm here for, brother.
All right, I'll be talking to you. All right, talk to you. All right, everybody, boys and girls, children of all ages. What we have here is, I guess we'll do a quick wind down. What an absolute fantastic interview. God, I wish he didn't have to go to work. I would, I could talk to him for at least another 2 hours. Gotta trim my beard. It's getting out of control. All right. Anyway, let's see here. All right. So we'll go and do the man, it's still so many great questions that I wanted to ask him. Bananas. Anyway, all right. Rise from the Phoenix. Phoenix Rise from the Ashes paid forward campaign. If you still have any donations that you want to send to recipients, what we need more than donations is we need nominations. So please, think about it, talk to people, ask questions, reach out to your neighbors. I will come back anytime. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, if you want to jump back in, you can jump back in. You're still backstage. It's up to you. I would love for you to stick around. But the occasional detailer. Israel's here. All right. Anyway, we're looking for nominations. I'll let you close. Okay, got you. Thanks again. Gary, you were an absolute gentleman. Thank you. All right. So we're looking for nominations. That's where we're at. Pay it forward. The GoFundMe page we are borderline right where we wanted to be. I think we got another very healthy donation recently, so we're in a really good place. And been talking to some of the other judges. Maybe we don't give everything away this year because, do you need to send out 12 power washing units to everybody? Because maybe not everybody needs a power washer. I don't know. We're figuring it all out. I'm doing the inventory. It's up to Rick and Greg to figure out what everything is doing. Rick, everything is doing. if you'd like to be a guest on Curmudgeon's Corner, we are basically booked out all the way through the rest of this year. So 2026 is where we're at as far as bookings are concerned. But like you just saw with Gary, we have some absolutely amazing personalities. From here on out, I believe everybody that's coming on the show is really community oriented. So I'm very excited about that. Like, we're really, this is becoming a movement, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. Nice. Dude, Humberto at MTE was one of the best. It was me, Humberto, and Matt, and we did everything together. It was awesome. I really had a great time hanging out with Humberto. All right, and now for the tough stuff. Suicide prevention and crisis counseling. Resources. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, seek help from a professional and call 988. The United States' first 3-digit mental health crisis hotline, 988, will connect callers with trained mental health counselors. You can also text HOME to 741-741 in the US and Canada to reach the crisis text line. And then, of course, you can always go to www.apa.org/topics/crisis-hotlines. And they will connect you with counselors of everything and anything that you might be facing. It could be substance, it could be physical, mental, emotional, gambling, whatever it is that you're facing, you are not alone. Do not let the darkness win. Do not let the hard days win. I know I know how the darkness behaves. I know that it's a silent killer, and it wants to keep you quiet. And that is why we talk the way that we talk on the corner, is that we are just going to be putting a light in every dark corner that there is. And, if we can just save one brother or sister, then we've done our job as a human. Next week we have Josh V on the show. The Josh V is going to be on the show. It's going to be absolutely incredible. I'm excited. He's probably the first person in the industry that I've ever completely fanboyed on. Like, not Roger Waters level of fanboy, but when he walked up at SEMA last year, I went bananas. And then, of course, Keeve was right beside him, and so I lost it on both of them, which is awesome because I like Keeve a lot. He lets me give him a hug, and he's not a hugger. What are you gonna do? Anyway, 2 hours, 2 minutes. I think it was a good show. What a side of Gary that I never even remotely knew that we were going to tap into, and I'm so grateful that he told his story. I wish that he had more time and that we could tell I could flash on the screen where you can find him, but he is the detail guy without the E. And I really appreciate you guys being a part of the Pay It Forward campaign hit series as we wind up to the end. I think there's only 3 more before the Pay It Forward 2025 comes to an end. By the way, I talked to Ryan Hansen, the chairman of the Pay It Forward campaign, and I believe that he has a conflict. So normally we would do the announcements of the winners and read the nominations and all that stuff right after Christmas, but I think that there's going to be a delay. I have to talk to him and get those details worked out of exactly when we're going to make the announcements. But anyway, really appreciate you guys. I mean, we've held strong at between 20 and 30 people all night long. It's a Sunday night. It's at a weird time. You guys were here. You showed up in the corner. I see you, I hear you, and I love you. You guys are my people, and I'm honored to be here. All right. Anyway, come on, Mary. You should definitely go down there. It is so much better. MTE is 1,000 times better than SEMA. I hate SEMA. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate everything about SEMA. It's just busy, and it's busy, and it's busy. MTE is a little bit slower. I'm going to be Phoenix has been invited by BioBombs. We're going to be at the BioBombs booth, and so we're going to be there, and we're going to hang out. And the best part about MTE is that it's a little bit slower and it's a little bit quieter, and we can actually hang out and be friends. There's a huge cafeteria-esque cafe thing upstairs. I guess it's in a new location this year, so I don't really know if that's true anymore. We're at a new venue at the MTE, but it's just a better experience. It's more fun. It's more relaxed. It's kind of like your cool uncle and not like your stick up the ass. Anyway, it's a lot more fun. Mary, you got to go. SEMA is too much. Agreed. Anyway, by the way, I'm the cool uncle. All right. Anyway, all right, I want to keep talking. Right. I love you guys, and I will see you next Sunday or next Saturday at our normal bat time at our normal bat channel, 8 p.m. next Saturday. Josh V in the house, and I'm going to put him through the gauntlet. So, not going to be any of that detailing stuff that you've seen 1,000 times. We're going to get to know the surfer in Josh V. All right. Until next Saturday, 8 p.m. See you guys later. Thanks for coming out to the corner. Love you guys.